So just showing off some things that I noticed about Gym Class VR. Um, so it was really hard for me in the beginning to shoot, but that's because I was treating it like other VR games. I was holding the grip button, and when you hold the grip button, you have the issue where you could let go of it late or early, and it could be really inconsistent. But what you got to do is realize I'm not holding the grip button right now, and he's still holding it. My hand is still holding it. It's based on your angle. So if I angle my controller down like that, then he will release the grip. And then basically that's like the secret to it, to like getting used to the game. Because if you try to play it like other VR games where you always have to grip it, then you're gonna have a hard time doing things like dribbling and shooting. You have to kind of like trust the systems at play and that it's gonna have like semi-decent hand collision, and then you'll be able to well, not hand collision, grip handling. You have to trust that when my hand is like this, I don't need to be holding grip. And it feels weird in VR because you're used to just like whenever I'm holding the grip, it's there. But let's say right now, I'll spawn the ball with the fire face button, and then right now I'm not holding grip at all. So then it gives you a lot more precision control. And also the other thing to note is that the flick of the wrist, see, I'm not even doing any sort of I'm not using my legs at all. I'm just flicking my wrist. I'm not pushing my arm out. It has a huge effect on how far the ball goes, and that's like counter to what you'd expect from a lot of VR games, because then they put a lot of work into making the basketball experience realistic. It still takes some getting used to. Like sometimes I feel like it goes too sensitive or not enough, so it's like super sensitive. Like it really depends on the speed of the flick of your wrist. But I've gotten somewhat consistent with it, you can see. And then try combining that with my knees, and you'll see that I've gotten somewhat consistent. But it's actually pretty good, like honestly. So I think I found a good way to get a decently consistent dribble, and that's to be extra aware of when your grip is being held down. So what I'm doing here is I'm only tapping the grip whenever I grab the ball. Then I immediately release before I even let the ball leave my hands. Similar to what I was saying before, it sticks to your hand for a second when you grip it. So this is me not moving my hand, just tapping it. That way you get it like in sync with the position of your hand each time. But you have to make sure you don't hold the grip for too long, because if you hold the grip for too long, it'll start getting inconsistent. But if you only tap the grip whenever you dribble, see, I can even do it without looking sometimes. The key is to also be aware of your controller haptics. I am feeling a rumble every time my fingers touch the ball, and you have to be aware that the fingers actually do something in this VR game. So like, I can dribble it with the fingertips. You see that? And that was me without any gripping in between. But normally if you grip it in between, I find it's most consistent. But it's still a little hard to get between the legs. It feels weird because the VR legs are there, even though my physical ones aren't. So it makes me hesitant to bounce it under, you know what I mean? And I'm not sure if it's actually colliding with something, or if that's just my hand. But I can kind of do it. And people can snatch out of your hands, so yeah, being able to manipulate the ball well enough would give you an edge. But you see, the thing about getting used to dribbling and then shooting is, since you're like doing your taps in between your dribbles, you have to make sure you do the same when you're shooting, and you're not holding the grip too late when you shoot. Remember, let go of the grip before you actually release the ball, like way before. Like, I'm not holding the grip anymore, and I just use the flick of my wrist. But it gets hard to get used to in the beginning, especially when you're dribbling and you don't have like the tapping down. So then I would do things like, this is me still holding the grip after this, and then only letting go when oh, that went better than I expected. But you see, it's like kind of inconsistent if I'm holding the grip still when I throw. But when I let go, then I don't have to worry about the let go, and it gets a lot more consistent. Still working on my shot, but it's getting there. But this is actually pretty good. Like on the surface level, if you don't know these caveats, then it's hard to get used to. But you at least, once you know it, like you have a jumping off point. So let me see if I can dribble to the other end. See, it's a little high and a little unwieldy for me still, but I feel like I'm getting there. Part of it's like getting used to the character move speed too, because you can't like sprint. That's like the static move speed. That's the one unfortunate thing. But I get why they did that. It's easier to network, and also probably for motion sickness. But you gotta kind of like push it ahead of you a little. And don't forget to tap. Like even now, as I'm explaining it, sometimes I forget to only tap the grip, and I keep it held when I'm doing that. I keep it held for too long, and sometimes I'm accidentally releasing the grip right when I'm trying to release the ball, and that's not what you gotta do with this game. You have to trust that you still grip the ball even though the grip on your controller isn't held. See, I'm getting used to it, but that's because I'm being extra conscious about it. So it's almost like you have like baby legs again and you're like learning how to walk. So I feel like a kid learning how to dribble again. But it's possible. That's the important thing. And to be able to just have the matchmaking and not have to drive out to a gym or get a home court is pretty nice. Because, you know, I don't want to use a lot of my driveway space for something like that and have it like rust out in the front. That's what happens in my experience. You don't use it for a while and you don't take care of it. Second layup. That's harder than it looks initially if you're not used to letting go of the grip. You see, like it was stuck to my hand right there. And even when you do, you gotta do a little, like right now, it's like still stuck. See, you gotta really let go, and you gotta get attuned to how much of a flick of the wrist you need. Yeah, you see, if I did this without a wrist flick, see, I'm not flicking my wrist at all, and I'm not holding the grip. See, it won't release unless there's some amount of flick. So you really need to get that rotation. Oh yeah, and this does work, by the way. You can do stuff like that. And then sometimes people will switch hands. I haven't quite got the dexterity for that yet in VR, but yeah. I find a decent exercise to getting used to how your wrist flick affects it is to see if you can just shoot it straight up in the air and catch it again. And you'll get even more acquainted, even though it's less practical, if you can get it where you can just toss the ball up. So in the beginning, I found that I kept bouncing them forward like this, but then like when you get used to like angling your hand and isolating that from the wrist flick motion, then you'll find that you have more control, and that also helps with dribbling. I guess in summary, like the best thing you can do is whenever you grip is to only do a quick tap whenever you grip. See? I can somewhat consistently bring it forward. Sometimes I still mess up. But that's a lot better than before, where I was holding the grip. And sometimes I forget to tap it because I was practicing earlier not holding grips at all. But yeah, knowing that whenever you grip, you're never really holding the grip and you're only tapping, that's like the gotcha and the wrist flick. But still a baby at this. I just got it yesterday. It is free, by the way. Offhand dribbling. The one exception I found to that, where like you're only, the exception to the idea that you only tap the grip whenever you dribble and release really quickly. The main exception I found is if you're trying to like dribble it under your legs. Because if I am not holding it and I try to dribble under my legs, oftentimes... Here, let me try it. Oh, it's actually working okay right now, but sometimes it'll not go under my legs because I'll do the motion to put it under my legs, but it'll just like stay out there. So for those situations, I find that I actually have to grip for a bit longer. And then, yeah, it definitely takes some getting used to dribbling through your legs. It feels kind of weird. But it helps if you actually like try to do it realistically, like your real legs. If you actually widen them for the ball, I find it gets you into the motion. Because I mean, I guess you don't really want to form that habit where you feel like you can dribble through your legs. Sorry, it's hard to talk while doing this. Because in real life, when you try to dribble, if you're used to doing it standing up, because you're standing like that in VR, you're probably just going to bounce the ball into your legs. So I'm actually standing with my legs wide in real life. Oh yeah, and definitely gets you into the motion more. See, that was behind the back.